Yep. All right, we are back for episode 91 of the new year. Maybe this is the last episode. I'm going to say new year. But
I
anyway,
heard that January 8th is the official day that you're supposed to stop saying Happy New Year.
Oh, is it really? Okay, that's good to know. All right. So another month, another week, episode 91. What do we have? Actually, a lot of stuff to talk about this week. Earnings has kicked off this week with banks. We're not going to talk much about that, but going forward, Mag 7 is always something to look forward in the next couple of weeks. Going into that, so let's see, Meta lays off 1,500 Reality Metaverse employees, which is, I think it's almost like the most of the teams supporting the Metaverse in reality. That's just kind of crazy. Nvidia chip suppliers pause production of the H200. That's not a good sign, mainly because of China, the back and forth there. Elon, the saga continues with his lawsuit against OpenAI and Microsoft. And then,
Yeah. So earnings. Earnings is coming up. The market thus far has been on a downturn, as we usually kind of see in January. Typically, people come back from the break and decide to take profit or decide to rebalance. And so a lot of the Mag 7 has been coming down, but we're going to kick off earnings next week. Netflix always is the leading Mag 7 to kick off earnings, and their earnings report is on the 20th. So Netflix kicks off earnings next Tuesday, 20th, and there's a lot of eyes on it because as we have been covering, Netflix is one of our top stocks of this year, but it's been selling off for the last month and a half here. I think it touched 87-ish, 86.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
it's
so I've been
still,
loading in. I've been loading in because I think they're going to have good earnings again, and I think the story around what's coming, especially with how Warner Brothers fits in, is going to make the stock pop.
Yep. Cross his fingers. It's like my second biggest holding at this point. Yes.
But your first biggest, which is Google, has been on a tear.
I know, right? Wow, it's like, man, I
Yeah.
sold too much. I trimmed too much. It is what it is. I still have a core long-term holding. We'll see.
Well, I don't know if we actually talked about some of the news that's been causing Google to pop, but recently Apple said they're going to go with Google Gemini.
Yeah.
Did we talk about that last week?
No.
Okay.
Because that news came out this week. That's why.
No, did it? Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, Apple has decided they're going to go with Google Gemini to back their Apple Intelligence and Siri, and basically now that gives Google demanding control over the smartphone AI market between iPhones and Androids.
Yeah.
It's about 80% of the global market.
Yeah. So that gave Google a nice bump, which is kind of surprising because the news was like back and forth. It was like it's not necessarily new news, right? Apple was going to use Gemini as one of its whatever models that Siri could work out, but I guess this makes it one official, and then it's like the only model being used at the moment, and I think that's where the bump was coming from. But anyways, yeah. So that was like, man. I also think more. It was too late, but
I also think it shows some concern and cracks in kind of what OpenAI is doing there.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
My theory is that OpenAI maybe is too open, and so Apple couldn't really integrate with the ChatGPT models because So I think it shows cracks in OpenAI. Maybe that's because OpenAI's my theory is that OpenAI is too open and Apple values their privacy and the user's privacy, and so they had issues integrating with ChatGPT's model. And perhaps given where Google is with the maturity of Gemini, they probably have more capability to, make things private or closed.
Well, we'll see. It also doesn't help that Altman came out, was it yesterday or the day before, blog post talking about how they plan to implement ads in ChatGPT. Yeah. I was like, probably not the best timing for that, but yeah, he outlined kind of like their model and like how they're not going to make it intrusive, et cetera, which is kind of interesting. And then what was I going to say? Privacy related. They also launched their kind of like health version of ChatGPT. Did you see that news where it's like a sandboxed version or I guess if you ask health related questions, you can go there, and it kind of like sandboxes it, and like, I'm not sure. I say that, but I do ask ChatGPT at times, like, hey, I have this symptom, this symptom. Is this something I should worry about?
Yeah,
Nothing
totally.
like in depth, right? But something like, I have a headache and I don't know why.
Yeah,
Things like that.
me too. I mean, it is definitely a use case for health. There was a company that OpenAI bought last week or the week before
Oh
for
yeah.
$100 million,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just an acquihire, and it was four people, but they
Yeah, it was like a
bought
hundred
them.
million or something like that.
It was
I thought it
100
was a
million.
big
Yep,
number. Yeah, until I saw it was like 4 people. No way.
and it was for health, basically.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
like a health integration or something like that, right? Yeah.
yeah. Last one about OpenAI. Well, not last one because we may talk about OpenAI later again, or we will talk about OpenAI later again. The last one that I heard or that came out this last week is Mira Murati. Remember Mira Murati, their
The
former
CTO, right?
CTO?
Yeah.
Apparently, she went off to start a new company, got
Mm-hmm.
funding pre-product,
Yeah.
and apparently her co-founders are going back to OpenAI.
Oh yeah, yeah. She's losing a lot of top talent that she brought
Yeah,
over, or that came with her to go back.
it's crazy. It's the
It must not be
never-ending drama.
doing too well.
Probably.
Yeah.
I wonder if like what's her plan then? Is she gonna go back to
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Tough it out. Maybe she joins the other one. What's his name? Ilian,
Ilya?
the other guy. Maybe she goes
Yeah,
and joins him. That wouldn't be surprising. But yeah,
yeah.
so OpenAI, it's under fire from a lot of directions. Claude is picking up steam from what I've been seeing. Claude Code, Anthropic, but yeah, they recently launched Claude Code for marketers, which I thought was interesting. Don't know they're positioning it the right way, but it's like you no longer need to hire marketers because Claude Code can do it for you. Something like that. Like, it's probably not the best message to send, but we'll see.
I mean, depending on who their target segment is, right?
Yeah, I need to try it too.
It's not the best message to say to marketers,
Yeah.
but for people hiring marketers, it probably is a good message.
Yeah, yeah. But I still need to try it out though. I've been
Yeah.
seeing too many good positive things about it. So
All right. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about OpenAI in a bit, but related to AI and this new era of technology, Facebook, Meta.
yeah. So I guess not surprising. We've talked about this before. They've been kind of like scaling back to go all in AI, and I guess this all in is really turning into that. So they're reportedly laying off 1,500 people from their Meta Reality Labs division, which is it's a lot considering. Let's see, what was this? There it used to have 15,000. I don't think they're anywhere near that, but it's not a good sign for the metaverse. But they still, I think Zuck still said they are going to go um, all in on their mid. Okay, you can cut out me sneezing. Anyways, Zuck still said they're looking to double their Meta Ray-Ban glasses. So when we talk about Reality Labs, I think their Ray their Meta glasses is part of that, but purely we're talking about their VR portion of Reality Labs. I think is what's getting axed. So like your Meta Quest is probably not in good shape actually.
Well, actually, it says more. It's primarily focused in their gaming division. It says in this article.
Is it really?
So,
Is it just their
yeah,
gaming divisions?
yeah. Well, I mean, it's not just, but it's the most impact is in their gaming, and I think that's like the Quest is affected, but I actually see the Quest as part of like their augmented reality future
Mm-hmm.
because there's pass through in the Quest, right?
Yeah.
So you can do a lot of augmented reality stuff with it, and then some of the other stuff like browsing apps, virtual computer, right?
Yeah.
Those things are still pretty useful. But yeah, it's sad to see. I think from what I've heard from other outlets talking about this story, the whole meta rebranding that was centered around the metaverse
Mm-hmm.
back in what was it 2021 when all the metaverse
Yeah.
tokens and coins and stocks like went ballistic. Was that the right call to rebrand to Meta, or is Meta more of a less about a metaverse now? I mean, or maybe it was the right call because Meta is less about the metaverse. Meta is just about
Everything.
higher
This
order.
umbrella. Yeah. Yeah. You could probably get away. I mean, because right. I mean, from Facebook, which is totally not what it's about at this point, right? It's about more than that. So naming the company, I think it's fine. But But yeah, anyway, so this does put kind of like a dent in just the VR space specifically. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah. And that makes sense to me. I think like from what we know, AR was always superseding VR, and then the whole like mixed reality
Yeah,
superseded AR.
yeah,
And then now the latest is spatial reality, right?
yeah,
Is
yeah,
superseding mixed
yeah,
reality.
yeah,
So I think for the most part, what I'll have with my Quest 3 is just a very inefficient and low performance
yeah,
way to play with these spatial
yeah,
things coming out because
yeah,
it is pretty slow.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
All right. Well, sorry to hear for those of you being affected by this layoff. Layoffs are still happening.
yeah,
It's been 4 years now since it first started, and it's
yeah.
ridiculous. All right, let's move on to the next story. Nvidia H200 chip parts halt output after China blocks shipments. And so basically, we know Nvidia is the stock to own, the company to be a part of when it comes to AI chips. But because of all the things going on with China and the US, China decided to block shipments. And so now there's going to be a pause. Actually, I didn't pay attention to see if the stock dropped because of this.
Not really. I mean, it did initially, but yeah, there's so much back and forth. So let's see. The Trump admin basically gave approval for Nvidia to start selling their chips to China again, and then China came out right afterwards and say they are telling companies that they need approval. Basically, the Chinese government is only going to approve NVIDIA chips for specific use cases. So they're basically trying to stop people from buying NVIDIA, right? And so they've restricted it to basically research and educational institutions, like at the high level of who can buy the chips. So again, tit for tat, back and forth. So we'll see. I mean, NVIDIA has a slight drop, but it's still trading in like the 180s. So it's not too far from all time high still.
And yeah, it was down about 0.5% to close the day, but I mean, from the pop in the morning to the drop, it was a good
Yeah.
1 or 2%.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so the fact, yeah, I think it'll blow off. I mean, in general, and I'm not trying to get into politics, but in general, what Trump is doing with his kind of, I feel like that's his focus is international kind of wins or international impact with the whole Greenland situation going on. It's just,
It's a lot of
I
things
don't
going
know.
on. I know.
Venezuela. Why are we spending our money, taxpayer money on all these things? I don't know.
Yeah, just a lot of things going on. Yeah. But anyways, so how do we jump to this? How do we jump to this next topic? I guess
Jeez,
it.
it wasn't that.
Don't want to offend anybody. So, anyways, but let's see. How
All
do we
right.
tie
Well,
together Nvidia,
wait,
OpenAI?
wait. Okay. It was last week, and they had Taiwan Semiconductors continues to ride up. Intel still doing great. AMD, all these big chip stocks are good. This is just a little blip that's probably not going to affect Nvidia at all
Yeah.
in the long run.
Yeah, Intel's on a tear. Man, I'm like so many missed opportunities.
Yeah.
As always, I'm never ahead of the curve. I'm always behind the curve.
I'm going to see every episode. I think you come in and say,
I
I
know,
wish I
another
would
missed
have.
opportunity. I don't know what it is. I'm too like risky. Yeah. Anyways, all right, let's move on. Let's not talk about stocks anymore.
All right. Well, let's go back to OpenAI. Elon Musk, we can't, I mean, I think we haven't talked about Elon Musk this in depth for a few episodes. So
One episode, maybe.
maybe one. But back in the news, we all know that he was pretty upset with Sam Altman last year. And he's saying that he wants up to 134 billion in his lawsuit to OpenAI, claiming that the AI company defrauded him by jettisoning its nonprofit mission. And just to recap what happened when Sam Altman had that little executive coup where he got fired from the board, got hired by Microsoft, rejoined OpenAI all within the span of like a weekend. Elon Musk was also pretty unhappy with Sam Altman and OpenAI because, as you know, he co-founded the company way back when, and the whole mission of OpenAI was to be open. That's why it's named OpenAI, and it was a nonprofit. But Sam Altman wanted to bring it to be a profit company, and from a capitalist perspective, makes total sense. They latched on to gold. They had the capability to make billions of dollars. So why not take it for profit? But from principality's perspective and what Elon wanted to do with it, whatever agreements they had in the past, he thought this was a violation and it was fraud. And so I think Elon is, suing one to both maybe get a bit of a payback, but more so just to draw attention to kind of where his stance is and make it difficult for Sam and OpenAI to function more. I mean, I don't know. Elon has 700 billion in net worth. A lot of it's tied up in stock, but he's going after it.
Yeah. So the guy worth $1 trillion plus dollars.
Not yet.
I mean, essentially, right? He's already worth like
he has to hit the goals first before he gets that.
I mean, even without, this is what I wasn't quite clear. It's like I think his current net worth is like 700 billion, not including that $1 trillion pay package, which is kind of insane. But anyways, yeah. So it's such a big number. Who knows how it plays out? It's going to go to like a jury trial, so who knows how the jury will rule. It'll depend if the jury are Elon fanatics or not, I think is how it'll ultimately play out. It's like if they're Elon fans, they'll probably rule for him. If not, then they'll probably rule against him. So we'll see. I don't know about the merits. I mean, I haven't gone through to read like how, if it was truly a seed investment, or could they argue that, it was because it was a nonprofit, right? And so you don't expect it to get a return on investment from a nonprofit, right? So I just wonder how the arguments will play out, because Elon, this whole 100 thing is based off of, it's considered a seed. Elon should be considered as a seed investor, but you don't invest in nonprofits, right? You donate money to them. So I don't know. Depends on how they contracts, what comes out of the deposition and etc. So, I mean, we'll see. I will say, at least on the OpenAI Microsoft front, it's not like little guy versus David versus Goliath, right? It's David's father against Goliath. Elon still has more money than Microsoft and OpenAI combined, which is kind of funny if you think about it.
Do they? I thought Microsoft's market cap was like $1 trillion.
It is $1 trillion, but if you think about like how much an individual is almost worth $1 trillion versus Microsoft, yeah, sure, he's like double that, but it's a corporation, right?
Makes sense.
So the scale is very off balance in my mind. A single person can challenge a major corporation pretty much on equal footing, and of course, he could bring in like XAI, etc. as whatever.
Yeah. No, you make good points. I think there'll be a settlement, and it'll probably be undisclosed. But I don't know.
Yeah, I don't even know. Yeah, I don't know if Elon wants a settlement, right? I think he just wants to basically ruin OpenAI, which makes sense, right? Because he owns a competitive company.
Yeah.
So if he can distract,
which is also getting heat the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. I mean, it's getting heat. It's now part of the Department of Defense, an exclusive contract to power the Department of Defense. So it's it's all over the place, man.
Your video is like frozen, but I can still hear you.
Is it? Well, like you're moving and I'm moving.
Oh, there you go. Now you're back.
Okay. You were moving the entire time, so I didn't realize there was lag.
Weird. Maybe we do have to get off of Riverside. This has been a pretty clunky session.
Yeah. But anyways, there we go. So we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Well, to close it out, we can just talk about this little rumor. Not little. Maybe it's a big rumor, but it is a rumor. We've been predicting it for most of 2025 in a few episodes that Tim Cook is about to retire. And I think it happens this year, actually. I think it's going to happen at the end of the year, personally. But they are speculating that John Turnus, who is their current senior VP for, what was it, hardware? Let me see here.
Is it hardware?
I think it was hardware. Yeah. Senior VP of hardware engineering. So he's like the counterpart to who I thought should be the successor, Craig Federighi, who's the gray-haired guy who always delivers a great presentation every BDC and every Apple event. But no, John Turnus is speculated to be the replacement. Obviously, we won't know for sure until they announce it, but generally when these kind of leaks, if you will, come through, they're usually right. I believe John Turnus has been there, since 2001. 25 years. Crazy rich.
Well, there we go.
So I don't know. We'll see what happens when the actual announcement comes. I think, we all know Apple needs a bit of a refresh. They've been pretty stale in their innovation. I still love my phone. I'm still an Apple person. I want more.
Yeah, they definitely need a new. I mean, I guess you could argue whether they actually need a new product, but they need a new product.
Well, this tap would actually be interesting then, because if he's been an SVP of hardware engineering, then that's bringing together the physical thing and along with the complementary software, and maybe because the future should be perhaps spatial reality or glasses or wearables, whatever it is, and that's a good person to have at the helm.
Yeah. I guess we'll see. I feel like it's a matter of like there's nobody that actually has a vision. You know what I mean? Steve Jobs. I mean, you can't argue that he didn't have. Well, I guess maybe you could, but like he had a vision of like what could change, what Apple could do to kind of like change the world, right? Whether it was the Mac, whether it was iPhone, iPod, etc. They were like unique in the market at the time. But I don't know if anybody like that exists in Apple's execs, right? I mean, they've like you said, they've all been there for like 20 plus years. Yeah, maybe too long. Maybe that's the thing. Too long, right? Is that they just need new blood, somebody who can like think outside the box, which is what Apple should is kind of like done, right?
Yeah, a lot of these execs, like John Turnus and even Craig Federighi, it's like Apple was like their first job.
Yeah,
and they've just been lifers.
Yeah. So maybe that's the case where maybe they should bring in somebody like fresh blood.
Yeah.
But
all right. Well,
there we go.
We shall see.
We shall see.
All right. Well, that ends episode 91 for us. We're getting to the 100, Tony. In there soon.
I know, we're almost there. There.
Once again, we are not financial advisors, so it's all for entertainment purposes only and giving you an idea of what we do. Give us a like, comments in the episode, and let us know that you're listening.
Yeah, there we go.
Talk to you soon. Bye. And hit stop.